I'm just looking at the fund allocation under Manrega. The revised estimate for the current year that we are in stands at 1,11,500 crore, and the budgeted estimate now for FY22, the next year, is 73,000 crore. Now, would it be fair, Mr. Mukhopadhyay, to say, well, this drop is also to do with the fact that this year the government had to step up this spending because of lockdown and a lot of people who had to go back to their villages and had no jobs? Mr. Mukhopadhyay, you're still on mute?
I said that is correct, but it remains to be seen, just as I said at the beginning, as to whether this particular budget generates enough jobs in a sufficient time frame, right? Early enough. Because what you will have, exactly like last year, is if this employment is not created, you will have a demand for Narega jobs. However, Narega is a right, and consequently, if it does happen that you end up having higher than a demand, which hopefully will not happen because you need to be able to generate employment, then the money will be made available. Just like it was made available last year, one hopes that the government would be able to make available money next in the coming fiscal year if it is needed. The government is currently expecting it will not be needed. We shall have to see whether that expectation is borne out.
Yes, Govind, what is your own sense? Not necessarily to be seen in a negative sense, because otherwise the capital spending fund allocation has gone up. So the government is hoping that that will lead to some more jobs and they don't need to spend here.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know, is your question specific to jobs or is it a general question?
To the Manrega allocation that they have made, which has been now brought down significantly from 1.1 lakh crore rupees this year to about 73,000 crore next year.
Right. I mean, I'm not sure about the reasoning behind this, but it could be that the expectation is that the broad economy has recovered, which it has. I mean, you have to look at things in context. You know, one of the things that's good about this budget is in a sense, it puts the whole COVID-19 year, which is last year, in the shadow. As in, it seems to be putting it behind us more so in tenor than perhaps in letter, and that's very, very critical. I mean, this is a budget that looks like we want to get back to work, we are reinvesting and so on. Now, if we are doing that, then Narega, which is obviously, I mean, at least from my perspective, is more of a dole scheme, as a defensive dole scheme, is not required to the same extent that you would require it were things to be going wrong. So also remember that more than 100 million jobs that were lost, according to CMI, in the peak of lockdown, most of those jobs have actually come back.
Yes.
While we do have job losses in the salaried sector, more amongst women and so on, the broader, particularly informal sector jobs have come back. So there is a certain resilience in the economy, which is good. Now the important thing is, of course, to say, can we convert this resilience into a strategy for growth? I'm not sure we've hit all the right check boxes there, but then we've never ever done that. I mean, in a true sense, in past budgets. So I'm not going to complain too much about that.
Well, as time proceeds, the markets are just getting more and more cheerful. Sensex is now up almost 2,000 points. That's about 4.3%. Vinay?
No. Yeah, so I always leave markets to the markets journalists. I never look at the markets for anything
I'm
to do with macroeconomy.
not providing any expert opinion on that. I'm just stating the fact here.
But to just take Govind's point forward, I think there are two things very important to see the NREG. One, traditionally, unpopular view is that I've always seen the MNREG as a poverty alleviation scheme. It's not an infra scheme or a development scheme in any case. It's essentially a poverty alleviation scheme. But having said that, I think what's important to remember is that in the last 6 months or 7 months or so, the number of MNREG registrations had gone up manifold because people had gone back. And obviously that required a much higher fund allocation. And I think the government is assuming, and rightly probably, that the next financial, that will go down because people will start returning to the cities or they'll find work elsewhere and they will not really be there in their own villages working. So I think in that sense, if you see 72,000 crore in my book is not that bad an allocation actually, because it will cater in some bit of droppage that you'll notice in the next 12 months or so.
Okay, very quickly, I'm just again putting it out there that this is a Manrega fund allocation, but we have to keep in mind that even though it has come down, it is because government put in additional money.
That's right.
And now effectively we are looking at saying that, okay, because you're spending in healthcare and infrastructure and other sectors is increasing, that leads to a more sustainable employment scenario rather than this temporary job creation or money being given out. I'm just very quickly going to ask Rajni once again. Rajni, while we wait for some more clarity on the agri cess on fuel, can you just help us understand what the government might mean when they say it will not impact the overall price or the burden on the customer? The tweaking that can happen in a tax structure where you include one cess and remove another one. How does that help the government? You're on mute, Rajni.
Yeah. So we, of course, have to wait for details to see how these cess have been worked around. Is it really a replacement or is it a fresh one? My first guess would be that it won't be an altogether new cess because, the overall focus has been in terms of increasing the disposable income. So that's something that seems unlikely. If it's really moving away from a previous cess and onto a more agri cess, that basically
if I can just read this out and then the experts can help us, maybe explain this better. From the budget document itself, it says, consequent to the imposition of the Agriculture, Infrastructure and Development cess on petrol and diesel, the basic excise duty, which is the BED, and the special additional excise duty, the SAED, have been reduced on them so that the overall consumer does not bear any additional burden. So consequently, the unbranded petrol and diesel will attract a basic excise duty of 1.4 rupees and 1.8 rupees per litre respectively. So there is a change in lowering of the basic excise, but an additional cess. Thereby, we may not have to pay more, but then what is the difference? It's just that an agri cess will specifically go to that sector and not to the generic offers of the government.
Okay, if it is put into one, this thing, from all these reforms, what they do and whatever, structures they make in place, Narendra Modi government is very strict about, where the money sits and how it is spent. So if it is put in a cess, it has to be spent in that sector
For that
only.
sector, yes.
Okay. Yes, for that sector only. So if they have, pushed it into a new cess, that means that it will be allocated only to tech sector and it will be only spent in that sector.
So effectively, the government may have reduced its own tax, the excise tax, and that said that, but we will still take some additional money which will go to the agriculture sector. Mr. Mukhopadhyay, would that be a fair interpretation of this?
Fundamentally, over this past year, the excise on petrol has been one of the main revenue raisers for the government. What the government is doing going forward is hoping that it will get more revenue from other sources. However, it is not giving up that additional revenue that is coming in from fuel, because it is seen that the people have agreed to pay that particular amount, and so why give them a break? So consequently, what they're now doing is scaling back some of the money that would have gone into general government revenues. There's already some money that's going directly to NHAI and to the infrastructure as part of the infrastructure cess that is put on fuel. So what they're doing is scaling back the general revenues that are coming in and directing a chunk of this revenue equivalent to 2.5 rupees on petrol and 4 rupees on diesel, which is quite substantial if you look at that in relationship to the overall infrastructure cess last year, which was about 8 rupees. And moving that into agriculture infrastructure, which may or may not include rural roads. I'm not very sure how exactly that's going to work out in that particular structure. We need to see what the expenditure is going to be for. But fundamentally, it just gives the government another excuse to continue with relatively high excise on fuel, which has generated substantial amount of revenue for the government in the past year. And with increasing consumption of fuel, they would expect to rake in even more money next year.
Additionally, yes. So the concept of bringing in more money via fuel taxes continues. It's just that the labeling of the tax has changed, and so the purpose may change, but there isn't any difference to our lives. But I mean, this is just the budget part I'm saying. Otherwise, on a very frequent basis, we see the tax structure change either by the center or the state, and we keep paying more and more money. Anand.
Yes, if you take the big picture, there's a massive change in our lives. The reason is government is not only doing this, okay, but on the other hand, the spending on green fuel, the
Yeah.
spending on increasing the infrastructure of green fuel, then going towards environmentally friendly renewable resources of energy. This is increasing from the government side. So let's take this from the broader perspective. The government of India is very committed towards the environmental factors. Then secondly, the long term focus is to move towards renewable energy. This also establishes a very important point. If you see the import export deficit of India, it's mostly because of our fuel bills. Okay, so just giving a dole on the petrol thing is something everybody is speaking about. Yes, it affects our daily life, but in the long term, do we want to give more debt to our children? Do we want to give more debt to our next generation? That also is a thought process, and that is being balanced by the government by not reducing.
No. It's not a black and white here, Anand. There are always other ways. Please look at taxing the super rich. Please look at taxing the big corporates who are minting profits year on year.
See,
why do you have to put a tax only on fuel, which the poorest of the section is and the middle class is also using?
Yes, I agree to your point that the cess is on the petrol. This thing, it is also as revenue of the state. If you see the state's revenue from this thing, the excise and cess, the cess especially on petrol is basically most of it part is going to the state because that is the direct income. If you see this portion and understand that.
Yeah.
That this cannot be reduced considerably just by one budget.
No, there is.
Okay, it has to be like a balanced way of taking it, and that is the way government of India is handling it.
Anand, there is one other big takeaway.
In the long term,
there is one other big takeaway. It also tells you that till 2022, there is no question of this fuel coming under GST bracket going to come back again. That's not happening. Obviously, it's not going to happen.
And not the center, and neither do any states want that
States
because
don't
they
want
all
that
see it
either.
as a
exactly.
revenue generation cash cow when other methods
Absolutely,
don't
it's for states and the center. I mean, nobody's going to give that up. That and liquor, of course.
Ultimately, revenue generation should happen either through the direct taxes or the indirect taxes, and it is happening. But one thing we have to keep in mind is the long-term, usage of whatever is happening. Okay, in the long term, we go towards greener fuel. We go towards better things. So that also should be considered. I'm not telling that everything is perfect. Okay, but the long term, if you think. I think this is going in the right direction.
I think Mr. Mukhopadhyay also has a different view on this.
So, first of all, two quick points. The revenue raised by the center through special excise is not shared with the states.
Yeah.
The states levy their own VAT and they make money out of that. And obviously, they need to retain it. Most importantly, revenue that comes in from cess is not shared with states as part of the sort of finance commission devolution. So when you say 40%, 41% is retained at 41%, if the mix of central revenue shifts more towards cess and away from taxes, the share of the states goes down. So, and you're talking about agriculture, which is again a state subject, which is part of the education behind the current farm laws. So, it is not particularly all hunky-dory because the center is raising money which it will not share with the states to invest in things which are essentially a state subject. So fundamentally, in this particular case, I think there are issues regarding federalism that could have been addressed much more easily and clearly. And one other correction, I think I just looked up the CMI numbers that Govind was talking about. And in services and in manufacturing, you're still down about 17, 18 million jobs. So the pace of job growth is actually still quite low. And what's also happened is a lot of salary jobs have moved into the informal sector. So we need to realize that while the GDP numbers are showing relative return, The employment numbers are not showing that. And that is something that we need to keep in mind throughout while looking at how this budget is going to play out.
All right, fair enough. It's been a great conversation and decoding of the budget. Thank you so much for all of you for joining in. I know it's always very difficult, right at up front, basis the budget speech to really give an analysis. But thank you for, taking the time out and joining us as we now go through more and more of the fine print. The budget documents are out and our team is looking at it, and we're going to keep pulling out these pieces for you. One was, of course, the agri-cess and its impact on fuel price. The other on the Manrega allocation and what that means. I'm going to take a very short break. Lots more on the other side. We've also got big reactions coming in from the Congress party. Let's listen into Mallikarjun Kharge first.
इनको याद आई है अब इलेक्शंस 2-4 महीने में होने वाले हैं, तो उस वक्त बंगाल की याद आई है, आसाम की याद आई है, तमिलनाडु की याद आई है, केरला की याद आई है, पौंडीचेरी की याद आई। ये क्यों? तो ये चुनाव जीतने के लिए जो करना है उसके डर से या उसके लिए उन्होंने ये काम किया है। तो ऐसा इस बजट में खासकर गरीबों के लिए कुछ भी नहीं है।